video will show how to automate SSH logins on a Unix environment using SSH keys. So the environment. This window is on a server named Tomcat, and I am logged in as myself, Lee, and there is nothing in the home directory. The dot and the dot are the standard things you're going to see when you do an ls in an empty home directory. With those switches I gave it, ls minus latr, the dot is going backwards, and the dot is your current directory. So that's a different video. So we have an empty directory. Here we have a different server, okay, and the same user, and a mostly empty directory. We can ignore the cache and the .config. Tell you what, rm.cache and rfcache and .config. All right, there we go. Now we're empty. So if we are on this server and we SSH to Lee at DB, it will ask me to set the hash for the DB server. I'm going to hit yes, and then it's prompting me for a password, as it should. So I log in the password, and you can see I'm on the DB server. So what this did is it got the hash from the DB server and it saved it. It saved it in known host. What this is to do is to prevent someone from spoofing an IP on the network and having you log into their box and give them your password. What they'll do is they'll substitute a box on the same IP. You'll SSH to it, put in your login and password. You'll fail, but you won't know why, and then they'll have your password. So what this does is every time it SSHs to this DB box with this IP, it will see if this hash matches, and if it doesn't, it will warn you. So we are somewhat empty here. So what we need to do is generate a key that can tell the DB box that it's safe to allow my user from the Tomcat to log in. So I'm going to generate a key. Okay, so I'm using SSH keygen to create a DSA key. You can also create an RSA key. So let's see what this did. This created two files. The id.dsa is a file that when you SSH to the other box, it will pick up that file and keep the hash, remember the hash when it SSHs to the DB box. On the DB box, I need to take this id.dsa.pub and install it on the DB box so it knows that it's allowed to let you in. Essentially, I consider this one to be the key that you take with you, and this to be a lock that you set up in the other box. Now, you have to actually put this in a special file called authorized keys. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is cheat a little bit and just SCP the entire directory structure to the other box. You have to put the colon in, or it will think that Lee at DB is actually a file name on your local box. You put the colon, it understands that it's a box on the network. So what this did is it copied those files over here. So I'm on the DB box. You can see there's now a new SSH directory. So now I should be able to, from the Tomcat box, Lee at DB, and automated login. Okay, now one thing I want to point out is that if you look at this authorized keys, you'll notice that it knows where this key was generated. This leads people to think that it'll only work when you're coming from the Tomcat box. Well, that's not true. It actually doesn't care. And to prove that, I'm on the Tomcat. I'm going to go down here to my DB box. Okay, and you remember I copied that SSH over. Right, they're all right there, but it's going to work the same if I go the other direction. Now remember, it has to pick up the hash each time and compare it. So the first time it has to accept the hash so that the DB box knows that the Tomcat box hasn't changed. So while this looked like it made me do something, it didn't prompt for a password. Name minus n. I'm going to exit and then n SSH. And you see it's automated. And that is all there is to it. So basically, if you ever set up one directory with files that work for you, you can pretty much put them every place. Thank you.